Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your Week 3 Monday Morning Breakfast Bite. Now, this week we're going to be talking about jurisdiction, ADR, and when we talk about ADR, we're really talking about alternative dispute resolution formats, so different ways to resolve a dispute without having to go to trial. But before we get to that, I just want to scan down very quickly to the submodule homework folder and just take a look at the things that you have due this week, because you have several items due this week. You have your matching module 3 matching activity, which is a quick little matching game, and that is due by Sunday. Everything is due by this coming Sunday. You have the team building exercise, so this week you start working with your team. And that team building exercise, each team member is to fill out the top part of the document and then submit that to the team discussion forum as an attachment, and then all of you are to meet and talk about your strengths and weaknesses, and then the team captain is to combine those top portions and then go ahead and fill out the other sections of the form, including, pulling out one strength that each person wants to move forward for the team, determining how you're going to divide the team tasks for the team exercise or the team project, and also identifying meeting times and agreeing all together on the best way to communicate, whether it's via texting, your cell phones, IMing, whatever it might be. You all need to agree, and whether you want to have regular meeting times, like once a week, once every 2 weeks, however you want to go about doing that. Keeping in mind the policies and expectations that everybody should have read, which is in the team materials folder. All right, that said. Then the Module 3 discussion, you want to pick one of the clips to review and analyze. And when you're reviewing and analyzing one of the clips, you are looking at it from the content of this week, this module, and analyzing it from that standpoint. So bad negotiation, how we go about negotiating, how you relate it to this week's topic. We talk about it from that standpoint. And then you have your Module 3 writing assignment, which is basically to pull the issue and holding out of the case that we started analyzing last week and go from there. And you do want to follow the format of issue and holding. So you want to label the first part issue, colon, and then state what you believe the issue of the case is, and look at the overall issue. Don't look at the little trees in the forest. Look at what's the overarching issue that the court had to resolve in the case, and then the holding is how the court answered the issue. So you're going to have holding, colon, and then state what the holding is. Use proper sentence structure, please. An issue is no longer than one sentence, so don't make it a paragraph. It's only one sentence. The holding is also only one sentence. The two of them mirror each other, with the holding actually directly answering the issue. So let's say the issue is whether the defendant ran the red light, hitting the plaintiff while she was in the crosswalk. And let's say the holding is positive. Then what you would say is the defendant is guilty of running the stoplight and hitting the plaintiff when she was in the crosswalk. So you see how it mirrors the issue? That's what I'm talking about when I say the holding directly answers the issue, mirroring it in the affirmative or negative. The term whether, W-H-E-T-H-E-R, is the term you want to become familiar with. It is how we in the legal profession turn a statement basically into a question or / issue. Now, there are tutorials on all of this, so don't forget to take a look at the tutorials, and I'll also throw the tutorial in here too, so you all have access to it in the homework folder as well. Now, with that said, we have our lecture materials this week. Please pay attention to the assigned readings and videos. Take a look at the Module 2 terms, but more important, take a look at the Module 3 interactive lecture, because that interactive lecture pulls out some key terms and information to highlight it as you go through all of the course materials. Now, going backward, we're talking about jurisdiction. Jurisdiction can take on several different roles. With jurisdiction, we're talking about either subject matter jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction, or in rem jurisdiction. There's also quasi in rem. We're not going to focus on quasi-in rem or in rem jurisdiction. Our primary areas of concern are subject matter and personal jurisdiction, and that is because a court must have both subject matter and personal jurisdiction in order to hear a case. If one of those are missing, the court can't hear the case. If a court has subject matter jurisdiction over the parties, but it's a criminal court and the case involves a slip and fall, then that is a civil matter. The criminal court can't hear it. If in turn the court has jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, because the court has the jurisdiction over the subject of the lawsuit, the subject of the lawsuit that I just stated was a slip and fall. But the criminal court can only hear the subject matter of criminal matters. The civil court hears the subject matter of civil matters. So one can't overlap and step on the toes of the other. Let's say then in the civil realm that you have a breach of contract dispute, but the contract was signed outside of the state involving a company from another state. Then we have to say, okay, but the person that's filing the suit for breach of contract resides here in the state of Florida and is a resident of the state of Florida. The court, arguably, can the court hear the case under subject matter jurisdiction? If we get past the subject matter jurisdiction, then we have to determine, does the court, though, have personal jurisdiction over the parties because one of the parties is from out of state. So when you're looking at the material this week, pay attention to that. When we're talking about alternative dispute resolution, we're talking about the different types of ways we can resolve a dispute without having to go to trial. We've got several different ways. One is general negotiation. You see that kind of in the Stardust case, right? In the general negotiation is where the parties try to get together and try to meet a resolution and negotiate what they're going to do. More formal is what we call mediation. And with mediation, you actually use an outside person, third party, that has nothing to do with the lawsuit or the parties involved in the case, but that person is called the mediator, and that person tries to get the parties to resolve the case. And what that means is you got to meet halfway. And that's the role of the mediator, to try and get the parties to meet halfway and resolve the case without it having to go further. Because when you have to go further, you have to try a case, you have to go to court. You're talking about a lot of time, you're talking about a lot of money, you're talking about a lot of effort, and all of that takes away from what you want to be doing, which is running your business or, having your life. And then there's also arbitration. And you never, ever, ever, ever want to agree, never, ever, to binding arbitration if you can avoid it. So if you remember nothing from this class, as I tell all my classes, remember that if you can ever remove a binding arbitration provision from a contract, I recommend that you do that if you are the person that would benefit least from binding arbitration. Because what binding arbitration does is it resolves a dispute outside of the court. But what it means is you have either a person or a arbitration board of 3 people deciding the fate of your situation. And they don't have to be attorneys. They don't have to particularly know what the law says in general, just specifically as to having expertise in that matter. But they are put on these arbitrator boards. They do have to get licensed to do so and all of these different things. But the rules of evidence are more relaxed. It's still expensive to go through the arbitration process. So never agree to binding arbitration. Non-binding arbitration, okay, basically what that says is we're going to make you go through these hoops before you can try your case in court. It gives the perspective to each party about what could happen in court. So from that standpoint, it's a good thing. But that's what we're talking about when we talk about ADR, alternative dispute resolution. Everyone, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact your instructor. Otherwise, have an awesome week 3, and good luck with everything.